Hello and thanks for joining us. I am Vin Martin Obiora Ilo and this is the Signature Show. So much happened this passing week, from the kickoff of the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang to the visit of the sister of the North Korean leader to South Korea and the eventual extension of an invitation to the South Korean leader to visit Pyongyang sometime in August, they say. Back home, INEC took a further step to strengthen its electronic voting process with a visit to NIGCOMSAT, the Nigerian satellite agency, to ask for collaboration.
Some of our polling units are located in places where 3G and 4G networks are not available for real-time electronic transmission of results. It is for this reason that we wish to leverage on the capacity of NIGCOMSAT to provide a wide range of telecommunication services. In particular, your broadband service offers a tremendous flexible bandwidth capacity that can be deployed almost anywhere and in a short period of time, including hard-to-reach and temporary locations. These are invaluable to the work of INEC.
Also this last week, we saw the controversy over the IBB statement on the state of the nation. IBB denies statement. Afebua insists he was representing IBB. Police declare Afebua wanted. Afebua shows up at the police headquarters. DSS invites Afebua. So many things. The question we are asking the police and the DSS, like Afebua did ask them, is who is the complainant in all this confusion? Or is the police and the DSS just asking for wahala, as they say in Nigeria? Over this same week, an endorsement for state police came for the first time from a top member of our government in power. This endorsement, which was by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at a security summit put together by the Nigerian Senate, sent some signal that maybe the APC government is getting serious about restructuring.
The nature of our security challenges are complex and nuanced. That securing Nigeria's over 900,000 square kilometers and its 180 million people requires far more men and materials than we have at the moment. And it also requires a continual re-engineering of our security architecture and strategies. This has to be a dynamic process. For a country our size to meet the 1 policeman to 400 persons, the UN prescribed ratio, would require nearly triple our current police force. Far more funding of the police, far more funding of the military and security agencies is required. Third, we cannot realistically police a country the size of Nigeria centrally from Abuja. State police and other community policing methods are clearly the way to go. Four, that we must...
And this actually brings us back to the discussion we started last week with the APC National Chairman, John Odigie Oyegu. In the second part of the interview, Chief Odigie Oyegu talks about the APC and other national issues. Also coming up on the program today, the girl died. Damilola Adeoya died after years of battling with end-stage kidney disease, and 4 days after the Signature Show joined other concerned citizens to bring her condition to national attention. We have experts in the studio to talk about what could have been done as a country to prevent Dami, as our friends fondly call her, from dying with her dreams and lying cold in her morgue instead of being in her room at the Nigerian Law School in Buhari, Abuja, reading her books. We also have a short report from the service of songs held for her at the Nigerian Law School on the 5th of February, 2018. Anyway, back to the present. We take a break, and when we return, we continue our discussion with the APC National Chairman, Chief Odigie Oyegu.
Linda Bannon and her son Timmy suffer from a rare condition that left them born without arms.
Shirt out or in.
But despite their circumstances, the mother and son from Illinois refuse to let their disability stop them from living life to the full. Affecting only 1 in 100,000 people, Linda suffers from Holt-Oram syndrome, which also causes heart problems. But that didn't stop 35-year-old Linda living a normal life growing up.
Being born without arms probably, from my perspective, hasn't really affected my life that much, because it never really occurred to me growing up that I was that much different than anybody else.
In 2003, Linda met future husband Richard, and when she fell pregnant, doctors made the couple aware that any child could be born with Linda's condition.
Going through all the checkups that parents go through when they're expecting a baby, we were given the option to terminate the pregnancy, but it was never even a consideration of ours. We want a family. We want to have a baby.
Timmy suffered with severe heart problems when he was born. At just 8 days old, he was rushed into surgery and spent the first 2 months of his life in intensive care. But despite his difficult start in life, like his mother, Timmy would not allow his disability to get in the way.
Yeah, that was amazing!
The pair refuse to wear prosthetic limbs and insist their conditions have never held them back, whether it's cooking, getting dressed, or playing video games.
Oh, I love this one.
While Linda does everything she can to maintain her independence, Richard is always ready to help out.
I'm just like the other kids. I'm just like them. And I'll be just like them every time of my life.
Timmy's personality is such that he gets along with all of his classmates. They accept him for who he is. They play along with each other. I think the kids don't even recognize that Timmy has some...
Along with managing Timmy's busy sports schedule and working as a kindergarten teacher, Linda is also hoping to help other people with the same condition.
I've been starting up taking business classes in business management with the hope of starting a nonprofit organization to help families of children that are like myself and my son.
Let's go to Kano State, where APC is the dominant party. And then a lot of Nigerians are worried that 2 big weeks, 2 heavy weights that should drive the party positively have been engaged in this war to the point that police say, oh, don't come to Kano, go to Kano. National Assembly says provide security. And I wonder, is it that the APC can't get involved in this and get these 2 gentlemen to know that they belong to one family and that they should work for the good of the good people of Kano State?
Well, I cannot say more than a few words on this, because as we speak, efforts are on stream, underway, to see if the issues can be amicably resolved. It is deep. It has to do with individual interpretations of events, has to do with individual ambitions, and the rest of it. So I'll stop there. All I can tell you and give you the assurance that as we are speaking, efforts are going on to resolve that issue. I pray the efforts for the benefit of the APC yields positive results.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, but let me still ask, doesn't it worry you that issues like this are happening for a party? I mean, it's not like one person is in PDP or APGA, and it's been on for so long. Does it not worry you that it could cost, if nothing is done and done quickly, that it could cost the APC that very valid votes, those valid votes in Kano State?
Let me not say, don't push me to say more than what I have said, because I don't want to say anything that will jeopardize the ongoing. I have been involved in that issue. I know the depth of it. I know the issues that are at stake, fairly fundamental issues. But it's not something, given the processes that are underway, I can start talking about.
Mr. Chairman, I would respect.
Please, thank you very much.
I would respect that.
Thank you.
But you find out that this tendency for unnecessary quarrels is going on in a number of states. Let me take Enugu State, for instance, where the APC is struggling to make an inroad. You find out that officials and members are quarreling among themselves. Today, this group is expelled. Tomorrow, the other group is expelled. And I've heard you talk about the importance you attach, for instance, to the Southeast, to bring back them to the fold. And when things like this are happening, is it an incentive for those that didn't vote for APC, for those that see APC as, forgive me, as a not very friendly party to the Southeasterners? Is it an incentive for them to come on board?
Well, it depends on how they look at it. For me, it is one of the surest signs that people are beginning to look at the APC. In the Southeast now, let's localize this, because that's where you took your example from.
Yes.
As a potential for governance in the Southeast. And so the grading movement starts. Everybody wants a position of advantage, so that when that day comes, they are the ones who will do the sharing. Go back memory lane. When we were preparing for the 2015 elections, we had to pay people to even fill the form to contest for positions in the party. We had to beg people to accept to be candidates. Today, people are fighting, struggling to be officers of the party, struggling to be candidates for the party. Sure sign of wonderful progress that we have made in the Southeast. A party that is not loved, a party that is not desired, a party that is not wanted, will not have that kind of struggle for position in its ranks. I mean, at that time, they were calling us all sorts of names. People will not in public admit that they were APC. In the Southeast, let me keep saying that, for fear of either being lynched, oh, they are selling us to the Muslim thing, they are coming to Islamize the country, oh, you know all those things. You were there, you know what, you know what was happening. But today, that same party, and that same party, people are struggling to be identified with it. That is progress.
Are you doing something about the quarrels?
Oh, of course we are. I mean, when that is going on, you know, what causes that kind of quarrel? People want to be recognized. They want you to call them to bargain. Then you say, okay, unless we harmonize, that famous phrase again in politics.
It looks like you're enjoying it. It's
annoying, but it is fun because it's active. The party is active. The party is alive, and that is good.
Okay, Chairman. OBJ says that your president, our president, has not done well, and actually went a step further to say, look, you need to go. You have not delivered on your promises. I mean, when you read that letter by Obasanjo and looking at it dispassionately, do you think he was talking nonsense?
I won't use harsh words, so I won't use any such word as the one you just. I won't even.
What I'm saying, do you think it wasn't making sense?
No, I only
because
thought...
some members of your party have said that, look, he's not making sense.
I only thought it was...
He was too busy flying around the world that he didn't know what the APC was doing.
OBJ is a fantastic human being. He's done a lot for this country. But for once, for the first time, I think he's gone a little bit too far. Maybe this comes from the military environment. That same problem that made people like me fight in Nadeko, struggle in Nadeko, take risks, life and death risks, principally to get the military out of politics, is still at play. Why? They don't allow democracy to mature. Everything he wrote gives the impression that there are some magic cures which people were not intelligent enough to access or do. And so he virtually is condemning the total political process as it is today. And he's saying, I'm going to start something which will be the panacea.
A third force.
A third force for this country. No, nobody does that. Like I said at an earlier part of this interview, let the polity grow. Let democracy grow. Let governments learn. Let governments mature. For the first time in our democracy, the population, the ordinary man and woman of this country voted to change an administration. That is tremendous progress. All I want to urge on people who think the way he has done now is to say, please, trust the Nigerian people. Let them make their judgments. Let them make their decisions. Yes, express your views. Yes, guide them. The Nigerian voter has matured. If at the end of the day he thinks the APC administration has done well, they will know what to do. They've done it before. They can't do it again. Trust them and leave it to them. As far as the accusations of non-performance, if we want to go into that, it will be another interview. Because you now have to start from the base at which President Buhari took over. And you have to ask questions as to the 16 years before President Buhari came. Which single problem, national problem, was addressed in a way that we can say, thank God, that has ceased to be a critical issue.
That's exactly the problem that
I'm just saying.
Obasanjo has with this present administration. They're always going 16 years.
No.
Meanwhile, they knew that all these problems were there when they asked to be voted into power. And they are giving power and they are still talking about 8 years ago, 15 years ago. What are they doing to address issues of power, like President Obasanjo said, the problem of transportation, the problem of the herdsmen, the problem of insecurity?
I am coming to that. If you don't have that backdrop, you will not have a proper impression of the tremendous changes that are happening in this nation today. You will not. You must have that backdrop because it was a period of excess crude. It was a period when the barrel of oil varied between $100 to $120. It was a period of affluence. Yet when we took over, electricity was 3,000 megawatts. When we took over, there were no railways. When we took over, there were no good roads. When we took over, we were importing rice and sending foreign exchange to shore up producers outside this country. The situation has been substantially reversed. And even if you are blind, you can see it. We are almost self-sufficient today in rice production. Today, this nation has finally signed up on a new railway system. Construction has started.
The Jonathan administration started railways.
No, hold on. I'm not
bringing them back to.
There is nothing that wasn't started in Nigeria decades ago. Like the restructuring we were talking about. Starting, they all held conferences. But it is taking an APC administration to move the argument forward. So you plan for railways. I can tell you that the Chinese were ready to finance, in the Jonathan administration, they were ready to finance the construction of our railway system. You know what? We did not have money to pay the very little counterpart funding that they asked for. And so it didn't take off. So what are you telling me about the railway was Jonathan's time? No, planning doesn't stop. Yes, they conceived of it. But what did they do? Like with other things. So, no, I'm not referring to the past from the point of view of saying they are responsible for our performance or lack of performance. I'm only saying that given where we started from, when you look at the progress that has been made, it is incalculable. Tremendous. The foundation for the greatness, I keep saying that, and I will keep repeating it. The foundations for a great nation, a great Nigeria, has been laid by this administration. Yes, people are hungry. Yes, there's unemployment because we don't have light. We didn't create that, but we are working on it. President Buhari is working on it. You cannot, when you don't have power, you can't have industry. You don't have power, you can't have middle-level industrialists. You don't have power, you can't have small-scale industrialists, the welders, the blacksmiths, and people like that. So a lot of progress has been made. The problem has not been solved. Yes, there's no government that can, by the flick of a switch, in 3 years, solve the mess that we took over. It is not possible. So President Buhari has done history. We judge him very, very kindly because he is finally the one that is building a Nigeria that relies on the labor, the hard work, the production, the productivity of its own people. So when I hear that, sometimes you get upset and passionate because it is the unfairest and the unkindest thing that anybody can say about the Buhari administration.
Okay, a lot of Nigerians and leaders in the country don't have too much issues with the man, Buhari. But I'm sure you read in the papers and you hear every day, including the recent revelation by someone as close to the president as Esa Sage, who has said that the president should watch it. The cabal in the presidency. Your party chairman, you're not worried that the cabal is holding Mr. President at Aso Villa and people are complaining about it?
Well, Sage has his own special ways. We have crossed swords once when I thought he was making outlandish statements and criticisms. To my mind, I don't want to get into more crossed swords with him. But quite honestly, to my thinking, it's also one of the problems of the administration because he has been at the root of causing quite a bit of the friction within the administration. I'll leave it at that. Other people will take him on. on those issues. No, but let me make one thing clear.
Yeah.
As a party, as a government, we have issues. No question about that. We made quite a few avoidable, like you said, mistakes. No question about that. But there's also no disputing the fact that this government is putting this country on the path to development and to progress.
Mr. Chairman, I will ask you a pointed question. I mean, you go to the Villa all the time. You have access to Mr. President. You're party chairman. Is there a cabal holding the president hostage from what you see and what you feel?
I'm not aware of a cabal. Yes, officers here and there may not be pulling their weight. That is something that has to be dealt with. A few problems, like I said, here and there, that is something that has to be dealt with. If the process, the pace of delivery has to accelerate, I think the president is aware of where there are issues. And I have no doubt that at the appropriate time, he will deal with them.
Okay. We're almost running out of time. But recently, some of your colleagues in the hierarchy of the party accused you of, in quotes, high-handedness, at a point financial impropriety, and then they talked about that word you don't like to hear, marginalization. Well, over the days and the weeks after that, we've heard things about withdrawing what they said, disowning what they said.
No, the withdrawal happened on the same day the publication came out. Yeah, you know. Not weeks or days, same day. Okay. Because apparently they are not aware of the source of the publication. Anyway, they are the only ones who can answer that. For me, I'm used to. There's no name I haven't been called in my 3.5 years of being national chairman. Of course, I'm up there, and anybody, if there's any pot shot you want to take, who else except at the national chairman is the source of everybody's problems. So we get used to that. We attend to those that we can handle. Cool, soften, ruffled, smoothing out ruffled feathers. And we just carry on as best we can.
You know, it took you almost, for more than 3 years, your party, you've not had a national convention. Thank God.
No, we have, but go on.
Yeah.
We have.
Are we expecting one soon?
Oh, yes.
We've heard of some of your officials saying that, before March, we think we'll have. Yeah. You have a date?
By June. My term of office expires in June. So there must be a convention.
One before June.
Yeah.
With all this stress, would you want to come back?
That is left for those I'm leading and the party chieftains to decide.
Mr. Chairman, I must thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
But before I go, I have a little gift for you, just to show that you were on our show. I was a guest on the signature show on AIT. Do me a favor, you leave it on your table in the office.
Thank you very, very much. Oh, my cluttered table? Have you seen it?
No, I'm not.
Thank you very much. Very nice.
Okay, let's go to the streets and see and hear what Nigerians are saying about the state of health facilities in Nigeria.
Our system is not working. Just recently, I'm aware that the National Health Insurance Scheme has been bedeviled by fraud and corruption. And I thought that government will quickly come in. You've seen that most of our leaders have taken time to go outside the country for medical checkup, which will not be the case.
I'm sure that's all the problems. If the policy of government is okay, I don't think anybody will leave this country. We have enough. It's just that our people have developed this habit of traveling out to access hospital, what's it called, in overseas. So it all depends on your own choice.
The poor are not traveling, it's the rich men, because they prefer the hospital abroad because they can afford it. And probably the equipment here, I think they are not all that good, up to standard than the one in abroad. As you can see, even the doctors in abroad are Nigerians. So to me, it's our hospital equipment that are the problems.
It's just that the hospitals in place, they are not that standard. So that's why they are sending them abroad.
Or manpower, or insufficient manpower is another one. Then another one is the issue of medical personnel. So some of them are not exposed to operate some of the equipment.
It's nice to know you're still with us on the Signature Show. Before we bring you the views of the experts on what could have prevented Damilola's death, let's bring you the service of songs held in her memory.
It was a night of songs and eulogies for the late Damilola Rachel Adeoya, a student of the law school Bari, Abuja. Dami, as she was known in the school, died after battling with chronic kidney failure. The students and virtually the Abuja campus of the Nigeria Law School gathered at the school auditorium to pay their last respect to the 25-year-old who pursued her dream to no avail.
Dami was somebody who had hope. Dami passed when hope was actually very nigh, like it was just almost there. And if there is another thing we need to learn is that we mustn't give up when hope is nigh.
I don't know, I was like, God, Dami, dead. Let her just walk up to me and say, no, I did not die. I am somewhere. Dami was a very friendly person.
Damilola touched each and every one of us in our own way. We thank God for our life. We don't own our lives. God has the final say. But in living our lives, what exactly are we doing? How are we living our lives?
Victor Adeoya, Damilola's father, explains what he went through trying to save his daughter's life.
We went through so many rigor as far as this matter is concerned, but we thank God. I cannot say how much I have spent on this. I sold part of my property. That is not enough. I have taken all the loans of this work, both soft and hard one, to ensure that she lived. But the consolation I have is that her spirit lives on.
The students believe that Damilola died due to inadequate facilities in Nigerian hospitals and lack of money to continue with her medication even after her initial kidney transplant at the Apollo Hospital, India. Even at the Nigeria Law School, Bari, the support and assistance available to indigent students such as the late Damilola Adeoya are very limited.
No, her case is one out of maybe 2,000 students. It was a very special case. We've not really had any case like that before. The management of the school, like most tertiary institutions,
have what we call the Tertiary Institution Social Health Insurance Program, T-SHIP in abbreviation for students. So the exclusions include kidney transplants, it includes open heart surgery and brain surgeries.
It therefore means that Damilola may have lived to actualize her dreams if perhaps the scheme is all-embracing, covering all manners of ailment, including the cost of the regular dialysis, which she did 3 times a week since she joined the law school late last year. All these are pointers to the fact that the health system in the country does not understand the needs of the people. As Damilola Adeoye, the best lawyer we never had, dies with her dreams, we hope that governments and health institutions will intensify their provision of facilities and support to reduce the growing rate of unwarranted death in Nigeria. Obiorani, reporting for Signature Show.
Glad you're still with us, and this is the Signature Show. Well, just like that special report said, Damilola Adeoye died. And the question we're asking this afternoon is, why did Damilola die? Could Damilola's death, could it have been prevented? Could we have changed the story? Could it be possible that Damilola would still have been with us pursuing her law degree at the Nigerian Law School? Well, I have experts to interrogate what may have happened. With me in the studio, I have Dr. Pius Ame, consultant family physician at the Federal Medical Center in Kefi, Nasarawa State. Dr. Ame, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
I also have Dr. Sylvester Akonde. Dr. Akonde is a health systems strengthening expert and senior health financing advisor at ABT Associates in Abuja. You're welcome, Dr. Akonde.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you've heard the story of the young lady, Damilola, so full of life. I wish you met her, you know. So full of life, so determined. I remember the last interview she had with us. She said, I'm a clever person. I don't want to die. But she died. Could the end-stage kidney disease that killed her, could it have been prevented, Dr. Ame?
Considering our country and considering the situation that we have, end-stage kidney disease is not as uncommon as we think. Experts have said that about 10% of the Nigerian population have this disease.
10% of 180 million people.
Yes, yes.
That's a lot, yeah.
So that's about 18 million.
That's staggering. That's staggering.
And one problem with this condition, basically, it's the end of a disease known as chronic kidney disease. The end-stage kidney disease is the end of a progression of a condition called chronic kidney disease, which is simply the kidneys, a condition in which the kidneys are not excreting the waste chemicals from the body and also excess water. So all of us, we should have normal functioning kidneys. So when these kidneys stop functioning normally, you end up with chronic.
What percentage will be normal?
Percentage of normal, anything above 90 to 95% function, we consider that normal. But by the time you have what we call a risk factor. Now, risk factor are those conditions and those states that push you to have chronic kidney disease. I'll give you an example. Something as common as hypertension. You know, how many of us know our blood pressure? You know, other conditions like diabetes, and then in our setting, what we call glomerulonephritis. It's like an infection of the kidney. And, you know, so these are conditions that can easily be detected and diagnosed in your local healthcare.
But if my kidney starts going down, yes, would I know?
You wouldn't know. Unfortunately, chronic kidney disease in the early stage does not cause any symptoms. We call it asymptomatic. So you would not know until your kidney function drops down to about 20%. Now, when it gets to 20%, you begin to show early signs and symptoms.
What kind of symptoms and signs are we talking about here?
You'd begin to have maybe generalized body weakness. You could have, you get tired quickly. Also, swelling, body swelling, especially of the face and of the legs, of the feet. These are the common symptoms of early kidney disease.
So it's preventable.
Well, the goal of treatment, now we're talking treatment here, okay, of chronic kidney disease. Ideally, we should be talking about prevention, because as the saying goes, prevention is better than cure. So when we say prevention, we look at those things that cause chronic kidney disease. Make sure that you check yourself in your local health provider. Check your blood pressure often. Make sure that it's not elevated. And if your blood pressure is elevated, take the necessary medications. Also, check your sugar level, because diabetes is one of the things that can cause chronic kidney disease. Prevent it. But if you do have the problem, it must be detected early. By the time somebody needs dialysis, like the case of Damilola, unfortunately, it is already the end of the story. What you want is to catch it early when the progression to that end stage can be prevented.
Okay, let's come to Dr. Akonde. Could the death of Damilola been prevented?
In terms of the death being prevented, yes. And this is exactly what I mean. Dr. Ahmed just told us that it's a progressive disease. So meaning that if we had been caught early, it would have been halted in its progression, and perhaps we wouldn't be dealing with the issues of an end-stage kidney disease. He talked about a couple of risk factors, you know, diabetes, hypertension, and all of that. And all of these things boils down to access to services early. And by services, I mean both diagnostic services as well as treatment services.
Health services.
Health services, you know, catching them early. And one of the problems around here is that access to services is very poor. And this is because there are many barriers to access to services. In some instances, it's financial barriers. In other instances, it will be things around geographical barriers and even cultural barriers at times. Until these things are dealt with, folks will not be able to get access to early diagnosis that would have been able to pick it early enough, and more importantly, early treatment that would have halted the progression into the end stage in the case that has happened. And I'm sure you may have heard about a concept called universal health coverage. That's something that Nigeria needs to get serious with. So if UHC was being pursued,
universal health coverage,
yes, if that was being pursued with all sense of seriousness in Nigeria, there would be less stories of, you know, the Damilola situation that we just heard. People would have access to services when they need it, not just services, but quality services. And of course, again, it would have prevented anybody from going into financial hardship and prevented
one of the key elements of universal health coverage is health insurance. People being able to have a kind of a cover that makes it possible. If I wake up with a headache, I'm not thinking about where I'm going to get the money. I go to a health facility. We have the NHIS in Nigeria, and we have a couple of states trying to start what they call their own state health insurance schemes. What is the problem? Why shouldn't a Damilola have access to medical care? Cheap, affordable.
Right. So maybe we should backtrack a bit. So universal health coverage basically means that everyone having access to quality services without suffering financial hardship. And by everyone, it would mean irrespective of your religion, your tribe, or your socio-economic status. It's true that we have the NHIS in Nigeria, and in 2015, a memo was passed at the National Council on Health that sought to decentralize the NHIS and encourage states to set up state health insurance schemes. As of the last time I checked, close to 17 states had already passed those bills into law. So they have the laws, mandating the states to set up these health insurance schemes. Not many of them have taken off in terms of implementation. And it's due to one reason or the other. I can talk about one right now. You recall again in 2014, towards the end of 2014, the National Health Act was passed into law after over 10 years of a long-running battle. In the National Health Act, there was a provision made called the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. Now, this fund is a pool of funds that has, alongside other sources, 1% of the country's consolidated revenue fund. And this fund is meant to purchase a basic minimum package of health services for all Nigerians. Last time we checked, since 2015, this has not been captured in the national budget. In fact, we're even more afraid that in 2018, it may not be captured. But there are a number of things, that are going on, that we are very hopeful, will result in its capture. But where am I driving at? Many of the states rely on this fund because 50% of that funds should come through the NHIS to the various state health insurance schemes, while 45% of this fund should go through the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency to help put in place, and revitalize effective primary healthcare systems, while 5% should go for emergency treatments. Now, the states have relied on this, and it's like a lifeline of some sort.
It's baffling, but that is the truth. Every day you tune to TV stations, you hear appeals about a certain kidney patient that has a challenge. Is it that even in managing this situation, that it is very costly to manage situations like that? I mean, buying the drugs, are these drugs, even when the transplant is successful, are these drugs affordable? Are they locally manufactured? What can be done to ease, the pain and suffering of people that have fallen to this disease?
This disease, unfortunately, does not have a cure. Once you have a diagnosis of chronic kidney disease, end-stage kidney disease, you are someone that needs dialysis. When I say dialysis, it's a procedure where someone is connected to a machine that does the work of a kidney. It literally washes the blood. So dialysis, depending on where you live, the cost of one session can be between 25, 50, 60,000. And it's, by the time you need dialysis to live. So each individual might end up with either a session a week, sometimes 2 sessions, sometimes 3.
As the kidney continues to go bad?
Yes.
The frequency of dialysis increases?
Increases, yes. So coming to what he was talking about, financial hardship. So let's say the person has the means to keep alive through paying for dialysis with money. A time will come when dialysis can no longer help and you'd have to have a transplant. And transplantation, fortunately, is being done in the country now, I hear, in Kano and in Ibadan and perhaps some other select places. But the costs of transplantation are still very high, upward of into the millions of naira.
And you need a donor.
And you need a donor. In Nigeria, most donors come from the individual's family. After the transplant has been done successfully, because you know transplantation can fail as well. It's a surgical procedure that can have complications, including the patient can die from the surgery. So if they survive that ordeal, we now talk about keeping the patient alive, because transplantation is taking somebody's kidney and then implanting it into your own to do the work of your own kidney. Now when you do that, your own body begins to fight that kidney, recognizing it like a disease. So it attacks and attacks. So after transplantation, the person is surviving on drugs that push this attack, this immune response. So you need those drugs to keep the person alive.
Will this be for life?
Yes, unfortunately, it is for life. So you have to, there are several combinations and new drugs. The newer drugs seem to always be better, but they are always more expensive.
It's here that I have to thank both of you for, being part of the program today as we try to look at what could have prevented the death of that very promising young lawyer. Don't go away, our program continues in a moment.
Are you 18 years and above? Have you registered with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC? Do you have your permanent voter card, PVC? If your answer is yes, what about your family members, your friends, your colleagues, and your neighbors? Remember, your vote can guarantee a better future for Nigeria and Nigerians. Your vote can make all the difference. Your vote is your power. Don't sit on the fence. Be an active citizen. This is a signature show contribution to better citizen participation in governance.
Just before we go, let me share my thoughts with you. This week, my thoughts are on the incessant fuel scarcity in Nigeria. We returned to the streets and it turned out many Nigerians are also thinking about it too.
If every one of us, I believe, is rightly playing his role in the corridors of governance and the institutions and all the parastatals, I believe this issue would have been a forgone issue.
The shortage of supply by Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR. So the shortage of price have affected the increase or hike in fuel prices.
Fuel scarcity in Nigeria has been long. It's not new, but previous governments have come up with different solutions, but still yet the crisis persists. But before, when this government increased the pump price of fuel, they assured Nigerians that with time this is going to ease the problem of fuel scarcity, and furthermore that 6 months later or thereabout that the price of petroleum will come down. But we have not seen that. Instead, we are seeing a situation where they are thinking of increasing the pump price for premium motor spirit, which is PMS.
To be honest, government is to be blamed. Yes, for obvious reasons, because they are in charge.
What will solve the problem of scarcity? If they can liaise with the marketers who have the capable hands for now to do what they will do to make sure that this problem of fuel scarcity is solved, I don't think anything is wrong with that.
Government has its own part. Government have done its own best. But the micro marketers who feels they want to take in, they want to have more, you produce. Government will subsidize these things and give you to go and sell. You bring it again, you want more money. It's not good now.
The government is totally, they are not sincere to themselves. That is not what to promise us. What we are seeing is a different thing entirely.
Well, time to end the blame game. What Nigerians are really interested in is availability of petroleum products, period. And that's the signature show for this week. Remember, you can watch this show or any of our past programs on our online TV, signaturetv.com.ng. You can reach us on our social media platforms, especially our WhatsApp number 081-0857-3698. Until next Sunday at 2 p.m., I am Vin Martin Obiora Ilo from the Signature Studios in Abuja, Nigeria, wishing you a wonderful week.